We should have some more jump on as we get started. It's kind of how it usually goes. But today we're presenting 5 things you probably didn't know about protecting your business from cyber attacks. And we've got Davin and Tom here presenting. So I'm going to introduce Davin. He's the sales executive here at IronTech Security, an MSSP, Managed Security Services Provider. Davin has experience in securing and protecting companies from malicious cyber actors. Working with businesses all over the United States, Davin drives to secure companies and their clients' data from today's ever-changing cyber threats. And then Tom, he is our founder and CEO, and he brings more than 3 decades of software design, network administration, computer security, and cybersecurity knowledge to organizations around the country. So if y'all are ready, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Sounds good. Let's rock and roll.
Dive deeper.
It's time to dive deep. Thank you for the warm introduction. We're going to go ahead and get started. Before we jump into the 5 things, I have a quick question that I'm very curious about. But do you believe you're prepared for a cyber attack? Now, believing you're prepared could be a multitude of different ways. You can think you're confident in having a cyber attack. When one happens, you know exactly what to do. There's multiple different ways you could believe that you're prepared, but I am curious. And as you answer this question, I do have some things that I want you to think about. So 60% of small business owners are confident that they can resolve a cyber attack. That means if something does happen, they're like, yeah, we're ready. We're good to go. Something happens, we'll be fine. Or they may even think that something won't happen. And so they're confident in that. So that 60% of those small business owners, well, 50%, 40 to 50% of small businesses will go out of business in the next 2 years because of a cyber attack. And so you have a little overlapping there, but how do you make that square circle? How do you make that work? If you're part of the 60 that believes and that you're confident that you can resolve the cyber attack, you're most likely part of that 40 to 50% that will also go out of business. So why is that? How do we fix that? How do we address that? That's some things that we'll kind of go through today, but that's some interesting stats that I've found today, and I'm interested to see kind of where you all fall into that. A lot of organizations also admit that they have no formal cybersecurity response plan in place also, or they don't even know if they have a cybersecurity plan or remediation plan. But to put in perspective, you can kind of think of it as, I always like to go to health. Well, if you had a heart attack, knock on wood, geez, if you had a heart attack, how would you address it? Like, do you think you feel confident that you could resolve that yourself? Or would you go to professionals, to doctors, to one, put the preventative measures in place to avoid that attack? But when it happens, I wouldn't rely on my knowledge to fix a cyber or a heart attack or a cyber attack. I would go to professionals. So that's something to think about in your day-to-day, but we'll get right into it.
You know, there's an interesting stat behind that. I think it's 47% of people do not know where to start.
That's exactly right.
Finding the solutions like we provide in many, many other organizations.
That's exactly right. So if you're confident, well, you go out of business in 2 years. You shouldn't have been confident. If you don't know what to do, that's fine. Go get the resources. We're going to talk about how, where to start, what to do. But one thing that a lot of people are probably curious and don't know is why are we here today? Why is cybersecurity important? And not only is why it's important, but why is it important right now? Well, all businesses and really our whole society relies on technology more than ever. Every day you use some sort of technology. Everyone here right now is using technology to watch this webinar. Computer, phone, could just be listening in. But cybersecurity is more important than ever now, because that is how cyber attacks, cyber criminals know how much we rely on technology, and they're taking it away, but they'll give it back for a price. And so by taking away technology, how does that affect your business? What happens to your business if your computers are down for 2 weeks? How does it affect cash flow? How does it affect operations? Your doctor's office not being able to operate or use any of your devices for 2 weeks. You have important surgeries to do, or your accounting firm. Imagine during tax season, no computers work. You can't contact or even maybe not even email your clients. What kind of mess would that look like? What would happen? What would you do? Customer experience, not being able to communicate or provide the service to your customers that they need. How does that affect your reputation? Simply because all of your technology, your computers, your network is down, your servers are down. What do you do? And it comes down to the business that you've built for 1, 2, 5, 10, and 15 years, all the time and effort that you've put in that, all the technology that you put in that can be taken away by a simple click, and can be taken away in seconds, minutes. And so cyber criminals, they understand our need and how much we rely on technology, how it's essential. And they also understand that businesses, small businesses, large corporations are behind on cybersecurity. So put those two together, that equals an easy payday. Hundreds and thousands, millions of dollars are being lost year to year simply from paying ransoms, just so companies can get their operations back up and running and get back to where they were before. Of course, there's ways to avoid that, which we'll talk about, but that's really why cybersecurity is more important now than ever. And cyber attacks are increasing every single year dramatically. And if we don't do nothing about it, of course, you'll become more of those statistics. But we're also here because it's not just happening to large corporations. It's not just happening to 50-person, 100-employee organizations. It's happening to everyone. The single-person law firm or the 3-person accounting firm, they're getting attacked too. 43% of data breaches targeted small businesses. You're a small business, you have a flip of a coin chance that you're being targeted. And that may have even increased in this short time, but these attacks aren't a sniper. They're not picking you out specifically. They're done at scale. And they think in cyber criminals, they think in conversion rates. Anyone and everyone that has a business or has an email, they're going to send you a phishing email, and they're hoping that you click on that link. They're hoping that maybe you hover over it, and now there's malware on your device, and now they're hoping to get that that ransomware payout. And well over half of small businesses experienced a cyber attack just last year, 2021. And so this isn't something that's uncommon. This isn't something that, it won't happen to me, because it will. And it is happening to multiple businesses every single day, every hour, all the time. And so that's why cybersecurity is extremely, extremely important now and not later. But besides the overall attacks, the sheer scale of attacks that's happening, laws and regulations are coming into place in the future, and some are already in place right now, requiring small businesses, large corporations, single-person firms to take cybersecurity serious and implement certain security controls right now, and if not now, in the next year or 2, 3 years, very, very soon. I mean, Federal Trade Commission, Department of Transportation, Department of Energy, CISA, Cybersecurity, Infrastructure Security Agency. They are all working together to create new rules, new regulations, new security standards, because like I said before, our businesses, our industries, we are behind in cybersecurity. And with the increase in cyber attacks and what is at risk to all of our, not only employees, businesses, but our clients, our customers, our citizens in the city of your water utility, you're protecting lots of lives that are relying on the water you deliver clean and safe. And with the lack of security that we have, these laws and regulations are coming into play to catch us up sooner than later. A lot of regulations in the past have mostly regarded privacy, like stolen names, credit cards, things like that. And so attacks like that had to be reported. But there's a lot of attacks, cyber attacks, that didn't involve private information. Like, for instance, Colonial Pipeline. Most of you may have heard about that attack, but basically a pipeline had a ransomware attack. I believe it was last year, 2 years ago. What was that, Tom? A few years ago.
2 years.
2 years ago.
Or maybe it was last year. I don't really remember.
But it didn't really involve too much private information. But if you were on the East Coast, you were affected by by that cyber attack, because you may have not been able to get gas or experienced high prices in gas, and something like that doesn't really regard privacy, but it still has an effect on so many lives. Didn't have to be reported, but of course it was had such a huge impact on such a large amount of people. It came out and had to be talked about and addressed. Something like that didn't have to be talked about, but those cybersecurity instances or incidents that don't regard privacy now are starting to be required to be reported. And that could involve the many different industries that you all may be in. It could be required now, and if not now, in the next year. Those laws and regulations and requirements to report these cyber incidents are things that you need to think about now, that you need to prepare for now. And if you already have things in place, you need to make sure that they're the best of breed. So when the time comes and you're under attack, you don't have to worry about being one of those statistics or having to report this crazy cyber incident where all of your clients' information and financial information was leaked or breached, because you have the proper security controls in place. Now, we dove deep into the weeds right there, but cybersecurity is important right now, this second, today. There's no need to wait, because if you wait, it's going to be too late.
And I'd like to add to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching these. You take an example like HIPAA. Everybody's familiar with HIPAA if you've been a patient anywhere or been to the doctor's office. Those regulations and the compliance were implemented in steps. At first, they said, here's what we recommend all medical and dental and anybody else that handles health information. We recommend you put these things in place. Then they started putting teeth into it. Then they just started helping the medical facilities implement. And then they said, you got to score yourself. You got to do a self-assessment and tell us what you're doing. Then they say, okay, there's going to be fines now if you have a breach and you weren't, following our requirements. Mm-hmm. And then they said, we're going to fine first, and then we'll figure out what happened. I have seen that in other industries of all shapes and sizes, some you would never think of as getting into compliance with good cybersecurity defenses. And everybody on this webinar right now, chances are it's going to affect your industry. You may think that there's not any compliance or anything like that. Well, you're already affected by it. Most of the state laws, and in fact, I'm not aware of any state that doesn't require that you report a security incident. Mm-hmm. I think all 50 states require that now. Now, a lot of them aren't enforcing it, But what do you
Some are
think is going
stricter
to
than
happen over
others.
time? What do you
Yeah.
think is going to happen over time? They're
Yeah.
going to start putting civil and possibly criminal penalties on it. So if you know this is coming down the pipe, why wait? Because it's a cost of doing business anymore. I just wanted to
No,
put my 2 bits in there.
that's spot on. And it kind of rolled right in this when we talk about cost of doing business. It rolls into IT, but also InfoSec, information security. You may have heard InfoSec used often, but stands for information security. And there is a difference between InfoSec and IT, but almost probably everyone on here, they have either an IT person or an IT team that they use to make sure everything's up and running, things like that. But they have different objectives than information security. And so I like to put it into perspective as, once again, we'll go back to health, as a doctor. So I have a heart attack. Let's keep knocking on that wood. But if I have a heart problem, I would require really that a heart surgeon work on me, not just any surgeon that is available, not just not a neurosurgeon. I would require a heart surgeon or heart doctor simply because he is the best at what he does regarding heart surgeries. He has a specialty. He is trained specifically in heart surgery. And if I had a brain problem, of course, yes, I'd want a neurosurgeon. But no, I'm having a heart attack. I need a heart surgeon to work on me. I won't take just a regular, any other surgeon, neurosurgeon. That's because they have their different specialties. Now, information security and IT, they're the same way. They have different objectives and they have different specialties. Now, when we talk about objectives, InfoSec, their objectives, understanding the risks that you have regarding your business, regarding cybersecurity, cyber attacks, the risk not only to you, but your clients or residents regarding your different utilities, all stakeholders. They understand that response time is absolutely critical. And when a cyber attack is happening, every second counts. InfoSec understands that. InfoSec also stays up to date with what's going on around the world regarding cybersecurity or overall security and how that affects your business, and of course can make adjustments correlated to what's going on around the world. IT, they're of course operations focused, making sure everything is up and running smoothly, efficiently, making sure the tech is working so that you can run your business as efficiently as possible. Now, with that comes relaxations and security, and convenience override security. And information's in InfoSec, security first, convenience second. And so it doesn't mean that one isn't necessary or you have one or the other, but both are necessary. You need both in today's business, and that's something different, and that's different ways how different CEOs and business owners are thinking now. It's, of course, we have our IT person, they'll take care of everything. Well, now with the importance and increase in cyber attacks, security and IT must come together, work together to provide their client, the business, the best overall experience, security, IT possible. And so by having both, like Tom was saying, cost of business, that's just the cost of business now. That's how businesses should be operated. And in all businesses, all CEOs, all owners, of course, it starts at the top, but you should have a security first mindset, a security first approach to running and operating your business. And from that dwindles down to your employees, and overall creates a safe, secure environment to do business that your clients, of course, feel safe and secure doing business with as well. But it all comes down, and heard this quote from this guy on this webinar. I think his name was Tom Kirkham or something. But if you manage your cybersecurity unprofessionally, plain and simple, you will be hacked professionally. If you want, you can write that down, put it on your wall to remind you how important security is. But that's plain and simple what it comes down to. By having both InfoSec and IT, that is the most professional way to prepare for a cyber attack to secure your business the way it needs to be.
Yeah. And and I don't want to add to that. These are best practices. I'm not saying that. Davin's not saying that because we sell the stuff. These are, the White House says you need a skilled security team to defend against attacks. To constantly be responding and detecting threats and just looking into things that don't smell right. I don't know how many times we get these inquiries, but I'd be willing to bet every day somebody sends us an email and say, "Is this safe?"
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, it's just, it is the cost of doing business. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't the case, but it simply is. I would not want any of my friends. Well, all of my friends know they need to protect their business.
Yeah.
So,
and that's funny that you mentioned. We get emails from our clients saying, "Hey, is this safe? Should I look at this email?" Because it goes in right to what we're talking about is human error. The reason our clients send us these emails and say, "Hey, is this okay? Should I click on this? What is going on here?" Simply because 90% of successful cyber attacks come from human error. And now, what do I mean by human error? That doesn't mean that someone on your team or an employee of yours is a malicious cyber criminal. Doesn't mean that they just got fired and now they're trying to get ransomware on your computers or anything. It's simply because they may have gotten an email, like Tom was saying, that they weren't too sure about, but there's a link attached. And because they were curious, they clicked on that link. They didn't know it was malicious, but in turn, hindsight 2020, now they click on it, it is malicious. There's malware on the device, and now it spreads throughout the network, throughout the business. And now your company's being held for ransom. It wasn't because the employee meant to do that, but they simply messed up. They had a whoopsie. And it's something that happens way too often. I mean, that 90%, you think that's crazy, but that's just the way it is. That's real. And there's ways to combat that. But why that is so high is because of phishing attacks, phishing attempts, and social engineering. We saw a 46% increase in phishing attempts last year. Business is gone in seconds because someone clicked on a link. And by phishing, I mean where we'll use Facebook, for example. You think you're getting an email from Facebook. It looks legit. It says, "Hey, please type in your login and password so we can update your account," something like that. You type in that information and it actually ended up being malicious. Now someone has your credentials simply Facebook. Now that happens in multiple different ways, but it happens very, very often. It's one of the easiest ways for a cyber criminal to have a successful cyber attack, clearly, because it almost works 90% of the time. But social engineering comes in that as well. Uber, there was a recent attack maybe a week or two ago where everyone knows Uber, but they had a hugely successful cyber attack that came from a social engineering scheme where an employee of theirs accidentally, human error, accepted a multi-factor authentication request, which then allowed that cyber criminal to access their Slack channel, financial information, invoices, multiple other things. But the result, the actual cost of that cyber attack, Uber's stock dropped 5% that day. I don't know how much it dropped after that, but imagine the financial impact that had simply because their employees maybe didn't have training on this specific social engineering attempt, or they may have not had training at all. The sheer scale of how impactful human error is on businesses and how, like I said, the business you've been building for 10 years can be taken away in seconds simply because an employee or you aren't too sure what to look for regarding a cyber attack, should open your eyes, simply because there's steps that you can do to combat that, bring that percent way down to almost even zero, simply by continuous training. And if you have a business or if you're a part of a business and they don't have continuous cybersecurity training, you should be either reaching out to us to get it immediately or talking to your boss saying, hey, this worries me and we need to really take training seriously. Because a lot of the time, one, it should be essential, but a lot of the time, if you have a cyber insurance policy, most of the time, cybersecurity training is even required to be compliant with that policy. And if you mark it off, say, okay, yeah, we have that, but you really don't, when that cyber attack comes around, you reach out to your insurance person, hey, this has happened. They actually look and you don't have cybersecurity training, you're not getting that money to pay that ransom. You're not getting the money to deal with the reputation loss, all the different costs that come with a cyber attack, simply because you didn't take 10 minutes out of your month every single month to train, to learn to avoid phishing attempts, what to look for, is learning not to click on the link. Or maybe you didn't have that information security team, like Tom said, where you could send that email, hey, is this okay? Should I click on this? You didn't have that, but simply taking 10 minutes out of the month to do that training could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in hindsight. So human error, extremely important, but it's something that goes overlooked often. And I know we're coming up close on a 30-minute mark. We'll probably go a little bit over today just because the things we're talking about are extremely important, but we have a few more things to go over that you probably didn't know. But are a lot of you still using antivirus? And you can put this in the chat. I don't want to call anybody out. You can say if you are, if or not, but are you just relying on antivirus to secure your organization, your business? Well, the fact is, if you're just relying on antivirus, you need to save your money, because antiviruses are useless. And well, why are they useless? Because I'll break it down briefly how a antivirus works. But one, it comes down to, if you're buying the antivirus off the shelf, simply maybe at Best Buy, nothing against Best Buy, but if you're able to do that, it's not best of breed. And the reason antiviruses are useless is because, one, cyber attacks are changing, and antiviruses, they rely on virus signatures. And for the virus signature to be known, usually the threat has to be 3 to 6 months old. And so now the antivirus knows it's a threat, it's looking for that specific virus signature. When it sees that virus signature, that's of course when it isolates that threat and takes care of it. But like I said, cyber attacks are changing. They don't rely on virus signatures. They don't have virus signatures anymore. Ransomware attacks, they don't have virus signatures. And so if antiviruses are looking for something that's not there anymore, why do you have one? Well, and if you're just relying on that, well, what do you do now? Well, that's when, of course, you update, you upgrade your security to change as cyber attacks are changing as well. Comes into a managed endpoint detection and response tool. If you have a notebook, write this down. EDR, you may hear MEDR, XDR, but it stands for Managed Endpoint Detection and Response. And what that is, one, it doesn't rely on those virus signatures. It is behavior-based. It is a tool that's looking for anomalous behavior out of the ordinary that comes with a cyber attack. And when it detects that behavior, it's able to isolate and stop that threat in real time, seconds. And that's, like I said before, every second counts. And having a tool that's working, monitoring, detecting, and stopping threats 24/7 is essential in today's time. And that's, if you don't get anything out of this webinar, I beg you, start with a EDR. That is the number one tool that you need. You can't buy it off the shelf. You have to go to an information security specialist. You can go through us, IronTech, and we can provide that for you. But that is the starting point. That should be on every single device, every server. That is the tool you need to monitor and protect your organization. Now, simple, we've gone through everything. What else do you not know? You may not know where to start. What do you do to start? When do you start? Well, the first step is you have to take action. You know the threats, you know what's at risk. Now, by doing nothing, that some people may do that, but if you do nothing, think about this question. What is your risk tolerance? By doing nothing, what is the risk associated? You've heard about businesses going out of business in the next 2 years. Lots of businesses that experience a cyber attack, they go out of business in the next 6 months, right after that cyber attack. So by doing nothing, okay, just think about the risk and what you can deal with to help you sleep well at night. And that's your decision. But if money's a factor, there's still things that you can do that don't cost money. There's steps you can take to start securing your organization step by step. Something free that you can do, security and risk assessment. That's something that we do for free for anyone that reaches out to us. We will, talk you through your organization, kind of understand your network. Then from that, we will have the assessment and we'll understand and show you directly where you're vulnerable and help you develop a plan to address those vulnerabilities step by step, completely free. You see these going out on the market for $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. We're offering this for free simply because we want to help. And then from that, we can be your information security team. We don't just throw the recommendations at you. We can actually implement them for you. But overall, you have to talk with professionals. What you're doing right now is a perfect step. You're getting the education, understanding what's at risk, understanding where some of your vulnerabilities are. But overall, you have to take action. Now, I mentioned a security risk assessment. I'll show you briefly what that would look like. You can see a quick visual here, how it talks about different areas that you may have in your company, where the risk may be. Two-factor authentication, that may be a risk that you have, or a vulnerability that you have that you need to implement. Well, once we talk through the assessment, you'll understand where your gaps are. And from that, like I said before, we'll help you know exactly what to do to address those gaps in the most efficient and effective way to fill those gaps, to take care of those vulnerabilities, to get you to the security level that you need to be over time. Quick and easy steps takes about 2 30-minute meetings. So if you don't have 2 30-minute meetings, you need to make time. If you don't have 2 30-minute sessions free, you need to make time, because security is important and we're here to help for free. Now, like I said, we're offering a free security and risk assessment. You can simply go to meeting.irontechsecurity.com. Kendi's going to put the links in the chat for you. You can also shoot us an email, but feel free to give me a call as well. We don't have to jump right into the assessment. We can talk about some of your worries regarding cybersecurity, maybe some questions you have. We can dive a little bit more into the tools, but the main thing is you need an assessment. That's the perfect starting point to understanding where you're vulnerable, what tools you need, and overall how to secure your business. If you have security already in place, or if you already have an IT in place that you believe is doing a good job, that doesn't mean you don't need an assessment. You can have this assessment and understand, okay, this is where we're at right now. We're doing some good things, but here are still some gaps that we need to address in the next month, 2 months, next year. It's exactly perfect to get you started on securing your organization. Now, I know we've gone over the 30 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, put them in the chat box, and we will make sure to get those answered for you. Also, this is part of our monthly deeper dive series. We have other videos where we've gone a little bit deeper into more specific topics. We've talked about phishing emails, human error. We've talked about, Tom mentioned the 5 things from the White House. We've done a webinar on that. There's lots more information out there that we're here to offer you, but it all comes down to having that assessment and really figuring out where to start.
You know, Davin, if I just take a minute here, you know, we do a lot of webinars that are strictly around education, so they're not really a sales webinar.
Yeah.
The information that Davin just shared with you. That's a mechanism that you can go to any security services provider and see if they really know what they're doing. It's not your job to be an InfoSec specialist. You just need to make sure you know enough to make the right decision for your business. Having said that, IronTech last week or this week, I can't remember, in the last couple of weeks, was recently named in the top 250 managed security services provider globally.
Yep.
And so I'm here to tell you that you know us. We're easy to get along with. We've got our ducks in a row. You know, we make it easy. And everything we do is defense in depth and best of breed and standards compliance. And I mean, just out of the box stuff is going to address many, if not all, of your compliance and regulations and prevent you from being fined. And of course, going out of business and having loss and theft of bank accounts and just things that it's hard for a lot of people to imagine, all the different scenarios. I can't even rattle off the 20 or 30 just off the top of my head.
That's exactly right.
Different scenarios. And the biggest thing I see people doing is just either believing it won't happen to them or hoping it won't happen to them, and that's their strategy. And that's not a strategy.
Yeah. 40%, 40 to 50% of those people will be out of business in the next 2 years. I mean, that's just.
I wish that I had $1 for all the people that only came to us after a ransomware attack or their second or third one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's critical, and they're increasing. The sophistication, the technology is increasing all the time. So
that's right. Well, like I said, links out there. Make sure to schedule that meeting and talk about the assessment, get everything at least started for you and get you in the right direction to secure your organization. We invite any other questions. Amanda, thank you for the compliment. I look forward to talking to you. If anybody else has any questions or would just like to chat, feel free to reach out. We're always here, and we're willing to talk. Very, very approachable. We make it very, very easy.
Well, I don't see any more.
All right. Yeah, I think I know we're past time, but I appreciate everybody staying and listening and understanding all the information we've gone through today. Like I said, we'll be doing this every single month, so make sure and tune in for the one next month. We'll have a great topic that we'll be talking on. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.